because it's very easy for people in corporate to throw you under the bus. The best way to win in corporate: give me my money. We are getting the bag this year. You are you are the queen. You can rephrase it, paraphrase it, phrase it in a way that at the forefront of speaking to women. Share this video with any woman that you know that is in corporate. Hi superstars, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome to the family. For my OGs, welcome back. My name is Mary J, and on this channel I talk about anything and everything that I find interesting, and I hope that you find interesting as well. From product management, tech, skincare, faith, personal development, career development, and all of that. And I hope you find this interesting, and that's why you're clicking on the video. So let's get into the video. Recently I was on Twitter and I saw a conversation where someone asked how to build confidence in women in corporate, and that's like one of the things that I am very big on. That's one of the things that I resonate with, especially because in the beginning of my career I had struggled with being confident to the point where my work was suffering for it, like where I had to stand up for my work. I wasn't able to because I was scared of the repercussion. And um my boss called me then and told me that I have to speak up for my work because nobody's going to do that for me. And that's why I would always be at the forefront of speaking to women or talking to women about how to improve themselves in the corporate world. One of the reasons why I started reading the book Nice Girls Don't Get the Corner Office is because I also want to learn about like the things that women unconsciously do to bring themselves down in the corporate world and how to avoid those things. So this video is going to be speaking to the things that I do and the tips that I have seen that has worked over time that would help women be confident and be badass in the corporate world. So I'm going to start with the first tip and we're going to work our way down to the last one. So stay tuned. The first tip is talk about your work everywhere. This tip is really important because as women, or generally, we tend to downplay the amount of work that we have done to get to the point where we are. Like somebody can literally say, oh, you did a good job, and you just be like, oh, it was nothing. It wasn't nothing, it was a lot. You did a lot to get to that point. So wherever you are, talk about your work. And I don't mean like talking about the work in like an overbearing way. If you're asked about feedback for the work that is being done or for a project that you're working on, that's a good time for you to talk about what you have done. That's a good time for you to talk to the rest of the company about the work that you have done. I've noticed over time that people that talk about their work, or people that have something to say about their work, are the people that are seen as people that are actually doing the work. So if you want to be like at the forefront of corporate, if you want to be on top of mind when promotions are in play, as much as doing the work is important, if you don't talk about the work, nobody will see you as the person that is doing the work. It becomes so bad that even when it is very glaring that you're the one that is doing the work, because you're not talking about it, nobody is seeing you as the person that is doing the work. That like they would rather pick the next person that is talking about their work more than you, that they know that you are like, they know that you are the one that is doing the work, they know that you are the one that has the skills. But because you cannot talk about the work, they rather pick the next person that can talk about the work, because the world now is about numbers. It's a numbers game. How comfortable are you with talking about your work? Now the best way that you can start to do this is in meetings where you are asked for updates. You speak about the work that you have done. There are stand-ups that are every day. Speak about the work that you are doing and the work that you have done, how far you have gotten, any blockers that you have, things like that. Always try to gas yourself up. Always try to, if possible, over exaggerate the work that you have done. I remember in the beginning of my career, there was someone that had joined the company, and this person was always talking about what they have done, like in meetings with like management, in town halls, in like general meetings. Like this person always had something to say. And Initially I thought this thing was like very overbearing. Like, why would you always have something to say? Like, why are you always asking questions? Why do you always have to talk about your work? Like, why are you talking? Like, why am I hearing your voice at every meeting that I'm at? But I didn't know that this was actually working in the person's favor, because the person later on became the person that everybody knew from the team. Now I'll also use myself as an example. When I started out in support in social media, and in the company where I worked then, we were like we needed to be very big on social media. So anytime that we're getting dragged, I needed to be like at the forefront of those drags. Now, with all of the messages that people would drop, with all of the complaints that people would drop, there's those complaints might go to like the general channel, and people would be like, oh, who is handling this? What's happening here? Now, because every time that there was something that was dropped on the channel, I was already on top of it, and I was talking about what I was doing to be on top of it. I was seen as someone that was capable of doing the work, even as I was doing the work. So it is one thing for your work to be seen, it's another thing for you to talk about it. So as much as possible, blow your horn, toot your horn, talk about your work. Talk about your work as much as possible. Don't let anybody make you feel like you're whining because you're talking about your work. It doesn't matter. When the success story starts to come in, that person will not be there. Number two is reduce unnecessary meetings. A lot of times people would rather have a meeting, especially if you're a product manager. People would rather have a meeting with you to discuss stuff than putting things down in writing or putting things down in like channels. I have this thing where I don't necessarily always pick meetings. In the beginning, when somebody comes to me and is like, oh, let's have a meeting, I'm like, oh yeah, let's do this. Let's have the meeting. Let's talk about what's the problem is. Let's talk about whatever is happening. But then over time I noticed that I was wasting a lot more time in meetings than doing the actual work. Do you get? And if I cannot do the actual work, please, how am I going to talk about the actual work? Now, this is like a two-way thing. One, if you are always stuck in meetings, like if you cannot handle being always stuck in meetings, those meetings that you're in, that's part of what you'll be talking about in using the tip number one. That's part of what you'll be talking about. Now, for this tip, talking about like reducing the amount of meetings, as much as possible, if somebody comes to you and is like, let's have a meeting. The first question should be, what are we having the meeting about? That would determine if you need to actually have a meeting or the person can actually drop a message. I've noticed that a lot of people might be lazy, for lack of a better word, and they would just rather prefer to pick up the phone and call, join a Zoom meeting, get in a quick huddle and all of that. But all of that time that is wasted in meetings might delay you from doing the work that actually matters. So when you are picking out and prioritizing the meetings that matter, prioritize the meetings that you know that would require a conversation. And each meeting should have like an agenda. Each meeting should have a time frame. And once that time frame is already exceeding, you need to start like putting things into, you need to start letting them know that the time is already being exceeded and you need to get on with doing something else. So as much as possible, let your team, let other people document stuff, let them put it down. This will also help you go back to the conversations to see what you guys agreed upon. Because another thing is that sometimes on these calls, people make decisions or people make statements, and because there is no, maybe you didn't record the call, or there was no follow-up conversation, or there was no follow-up chats to confirm that okay, this was what we discussed, you everybody just goes their way with the information that they've gotten from the meeting. And if anything happens, let's say for example something negative happens, there's you don't have any proof to show that this is what you guys discuss and this is how it is. So first off, as you're avoiding the meetings that you're having, once those meetings are over, make sure that you send like a follow-up documented message where the person is confirming that yes, this is what you guys agreed upon, because it's very easy for people in corporate to throw you under the bus. Number three is to write down updates on communication channels. If your company uses Slack, email, WhatsApp, whatever form of communication that you guys use, whatever channel of communication that you guys use, always document and put your updates on those channels. This will make you be at the forefront, like people can see that you're always dropping your updates. Two, This will help you in a time where somebody is saying that you're not doing the work that you have done. Always put things down, always document them, and make sure that there's somebody that can corroborate what you have written down, somebody that can see what you have written down. So all of the updates, all of the work that you are doing, as much as there are no meetings for you to have those conversations, writing them down on the channels, writing your updates down on the channels is another way to show yourself, is another way to be like at the forefront of management and of your company. Another tip is to upskill as much as possible. The workforce is already so hard on women. There's the part where, oh, we were seen as the lesser gender. There's the part where we probably have situations where we might have to go on maternity leave, where we might have to like leave work for kids. I like that the world is changing now and a lot of things are changing now. But until things normalize, until we are seen as equals, these are the things that we need to do to also be on top. So upskill as much as possible. If a man in your role is has like a particular number of skills, make sure that you beat that skill. So upskill as much as possible. Make sure that you're always on top of the certifications, the professional things that you would have to do. Make sure that you're always on top of conferences that you have to go to, things that you have to do to be successful in the role that you're in. Make sure that you're always on top of it, because as much as you're already fighting to be better, you're also fighting like the you're also fighting the societal norms that always trying to bring women down. So the whole aim is not to give them anything that they can use against you. So you have to like upskill. If as a product manager you need to get like different courses or do different projects, be involved, do all of those projects. Make sure that you add them to your CV. Make sure that you add them to your LinkedIn profile. Make sure that you are upskilling, and all those certifications, all of those things that you are doing, you are putting them somewhere. As much as your work is speaking for you, as much as you're talking about your work, so that when the time comes, all of this pays. Number five is to accept and give feedback as constructively as possible. One thing is not to see feedback that anybody is giving you as somebody trying to bring you down or somebody trying to belittle you. That's one part. Another thing is when you are also giving feedback to somebody, there's no need for you to water down the feedback. There's no need for you to say, oh, because of who I am or because of where I'm at, I need to like figure out a sweeter way to say this. I'm not saying be harsh with your feedback. I'm not saying be very brash with it. What I'm saying is, as much as you want to, like the way you would want to receive feedback, that's the same way you should give feedback, and be very constructive with your feedback. There's also one thing that you need to remember: not all of the feedback that you get is useful to you. Some of them you can use them, some of them throw them in the trash. But you need to learn how to figure out the one that will be useful to you in the long run and the one that you don't need. So, as much as possible, when you get feedback, sift through the feedback and be very logical about it. Like somebody has told you that this is a better way of doing this, look at it logically. Is this the case? If that's the case, thank you for that. You would put it, you would take it on as in as like something that you need, that you know that you need to work on. If that is not the case, you tell the person thank you, and you move on with your life. So as much as you're getting feedback, whether positive or negative, you need to also figure out the one that is good for you, that is good for where you're at in your career, good for where you are as a person, and use that or dump it. Another one is to address issues as soon as possible. I would say immediately, but I think sometimes we might need to take a step back to look at the situation. But there are times where you as a person knows that this person is being condescending, or this person is belittling your expertise or belittling you as a person. Sometimes it's because of your sex, it's because you're female. Sometimes it is just something else. But it doesn't matter where it is coming from. The whole idea is to check it. Now, there's one thing that I used to do in the past. When I want to talk about like a problem I have, or when I want to talk about issues, I'm always crying. And that's why I used to take a step back. So when I take a step back, I rein in my emotions, I can come back and have a constructive conversation with you. And when you're having a constructive conversation with somebody and you're telling the person that this is how you feel about what the person has done, and you are noticing that this person, you're not reaching the person, dump that conversation. There's no need for you to keep going on and on and on. Because by the time you keep going on and on, the next thing that they'll call you is a mad woman. And we don't do that over here. Once you have categorically stated, I don't like to be spoken to in that manner, please do not do that again. I would appreciate if you speak to me in a different tone. I do not like being shouted at. Once you have categorically stated it, or I felt like you spoke to me in a condescending manner, I would really appreciate that it doesn't happen again. Simple, short, to the point, and you move on. If you're in a meeting and somebody keeps talking over you, or somebody keeps taking your ideas and making it their own, make sure that you still circle back to that conversation. Let's say, for example, now you've given an idea, and somebody else like piggybacks off what you said, and from what you can see in the meeting, it seems like they're tilting towards what the person is saying, like they're tilting towards the person. Bring yourself back, center the conversation back to you. You can say something like, oh, this is what I said earlier, and mention your idea again. You can rephrase it, paraphrase it, shall phrase it in a way that they know that the idea actually came from you, and this is what it is. So anytime that you are saying nonsense, check it in a professional manner. So when you are stating all of this, try to be as polite and professional as possible. There's no need for you to shout about it. That's one of the things that I need to work on as a person. There's no need for you to shout about it. There's no need for you to like go on and on or explain it. Just state your purpose and move on. Simple and short. Another thing is to know and make sure that you enforce your boundaries. This is like one of the most important things that we probably don't take into consideration a lot. We say things, but we don't actually follow through with them. For example, let's say you have said that, oh, you don't work weekends, and then for every weekend that there's something that needs to be done, you are like at the forefront, you are always taking it up. There's the parts where, oh, this is an emergency, there's nothing that you can do, you have to show up. And there's now the parts where you're now suffering for it every time that there's a task that needs to be done on the weekend, you're the one that is being called. If you have any boundaries, enforce it from the beginning. Don't let it be trampled upon at any point. I was having a conversation with someone, and the person was like, this point that you are now is the time where you can enforce your boundaries. Whatever you know that you will not take in the long run, don't start it. Whatever you know that will bring you harm in the long run, and you're just saying, oh, let me just do it, let me just do it. Trust me, you will become the person that is always doing it. So enforce your boundaries from the beginning and stick to it. Whether even in corporate world, in friendships, in relationships, whatever you know that you would not take in the long run, don't start it in the beginning. Another thing is to track your achievements, track your wins, document them. This is something that you can use to brag for yourself whenever imposter syndrome starts to like come and rear its ugly head. For times when you want to go for promotions, when you're having conversations about promotions, for times where you actually need them. So always document your wins, always track them, always put them somewhere that you can always go to go and look at and be like, oh yes, if I was able to do this, I can do better. If I was able to do this, I deserve this promotion. I was able to do this, and this is what I got out of it. And so you need to give me my money. So always track your achievement. One thing that I always tell people is to understand your office politics and play it well. Women don't tend to look in that direction. We tend to just be, oh, let me just do my work and go. I don't need to do this. If your office is an office where social gatherings are important, try to make time to go for those social gatherings. If your office is an office where like maybe they have end of week activities that you can use to get to know people better. Try to make time to go for those things. The best way to win in corporate is to play the office politics. I am not saying be manipulative. I don't think playing office politics is manipulative. In the beginning, I thought it was. I'm also not saying come and step over people to be successful. I am not. I don't even buy that. That stuff always annoys me every time that it happens. But what I am saying is, once you have seen that there's a particular kind of dynamic that works for your office, make sure you play the cards well. If it's words that you people are playing in your office, make sure that you follow them to play the words. If it is maybe weekend dinners that you guys are having, make sure you go, because those showing up in all of those kind of events, in all of those environments, gives the illusion that you are a team player and you're not just like work. You have work life balance. You can both play in the office and play outside of the office. So all of these examples that I have given are things that might be or things that might not be. So you need to sit down, figure out the dynamic that works in your office, and make sure you play to that dynamic, because that's what is going to make you successful. Another thing that a lot of people swear by, and I think I have seen it work a lot, is job hopping. And here is why. The possibility of you getting times two of your salary in your current company is slimmer than the possibility of you getting it when you move to another company. If you play your cards right, you have every possibility of getting like a higher pay from a new company than from your current company, unless your company is really great, which I have not seen. I wish I really want to experience that kind of company. So try to make the most time of your time in any company. I would advise 1 year, 2 years, but you always know what works for you best. So try to make sure that within 1 year, 1.5 year, 2 years, at most 3 years, you are moving to another company. I see people that have been in companies 5 years, 10 years, and I'm really excited for them, because there must be something that you're seeing in that company. And I love it for you. But as somebody that is starting out in corporate, as somebody that wants to have like a lot of experience under your belt, it is always better when you are in previous when you move from company to company. I have been able to, this is times four or times five my income from moving companies. It has not always been green. The grass has not always been green. It has not always been rosy. But I know that the experiences that I have now from working in different companies, I probably wouldn't have had them if I stayed in one company. So I always take the risk of moving companies. And I also always take the risk of believing in myself. We tend to not believe that we can do things, and it tends to shoot us in the ass later in life. So I always believe in yourself. Always have it at the back of your mind that you are who you are. Like, you are her, you are she, you are the queen. You are on top. Like, there's no downplaying the kind of work. See, we work so hard. We work really hard to downplay the work that we are doing. We work really hard to not believe in ourselves. Like, there's no reason for you to feel that you are not enough. There's no reason for you to feel like you don't deserve the promotion. There's no reason for you to downplay your work. Men don't downplay their work. Men play office politics. So as much as possible, you need to get on your own game as well, so that you'll be successful. Because, to be honest, this is why we are here. We're here to enjoy life. We're here to be successful. We're here to be be good, be better at what we're doing. And that is what I believe, and I know that a lot of people believe the same things. The last but not the least is to always celebrate your wins. You remember that time when I said track your achievement, track your wins? Another thing that you can do is celebrate those wins with your team, celebrate those wins by yourself. If you even notice, if you listen and pay attention to all of the things that I have been saying, you would see that a lot of them are tied together. The situations where a project was successful and you were a part of the team that worked on that project, and then when it is time to go and celebrate the project success. You are not there. Why? Because you are not social. Maybe go and wear that dress and go out and celebrate. Don't be stuck on a don't be stuck in a particular place. Like, I have seen this happen in real life where people are not seen as team players, or people are not seen as like part of the team, because we are seeing you at the office, but we're not seeing you outside of the office. Do you understand? So, as much as possible, celebrate your wins, whether small, whether big, whether personal, whether as a group. Always celebrate your wins. Okay? If you've watched to this point, you're a superstar. Now is a good time for you to subscribe, for you to like, for you to share this video with any woman that you know that is in corporate, and help them be better, basically, because this is the year where we are getting the bag. I've been saying this since the beginning of the year. We are getting the bag this year. So there's no room for us to feel less of ourselves. There's no room for us to not gas ourselves up. There's no room for us not to upskill. There's no room for us not to be better. So whatever we're doing, we're gonna be successful. Whatever we're doing, we're gonna be okay. Bye guys.